Oh, hey! I'm glad you're here. I just wanted to announce that on Tuesday, April 6th, we'll be launching Season 7 of VHS. I'm really excited as we have 8 new guests with fascinating professions and 8 very different films. The first episode is one that I've been working on since the inception of VHS. But that's next week. For this week, I wanted to bring out one of our Patreon episodes of new releases and late returns. This is your introduction to one of my favorite people that I've ever met, and he'll be our third rotating co-host. I'm talking about my friend, Ted Chiang. It's been great reconnecting and talking about films, and speaking of communication, I would love to hear from you. Please reach out, share your stories, no matter how big or small. We are VHUS_podcast on Twitter and Instagram, or reach us through the website vh-us.com. If you appreciate the podcast, of course, a review on your preferred platform would be greatly appreciated, and any support on patreon.com/VHUS. We have bonus episodes and much more to come. Now, without further delay, let's get even with Ted on new releases and late returns. Hello, and welcome to New Releases and Late Returns, the sibling podcast of VHS. On VHS, each episode's about a film, and the guest has the profession portrayed in the film. And on New Releases and Late Returns, we celebrate what's currently bringing us joy. I'm your host, Dirk Marshall, and I'm joined today by Ted Chiang. Thank you for being here.
Glad to be here, Dirk.
Now, we actually met because of films. We had a mutual friend who was, at least told me, hey, my friend Ted likes movies too. You guys should be friends. And I was like, okay, that sounds cool. And then one night at a bar, everyone but us went to the basement to do cocaine. And this mutual friend was like, hey, you guys talk about movies. And that was basically how we met.
Yeah, it was really awkward. It was like, I mean, okay, like there's all sorts of movies. I to be fair, I did know of you, and I assumed that we had the same taste, but still, it was kind of like awkward to like, like, hey, talk to this person.
Yeah, no, not even like a specific movie. Just you like the talkies. Just have at it.
Yeah.
But I like to think that we became fast friends, and there's certain movies that I watch and I can hear your laugh in my head where I'm just like, oh, Ted would have laughed so hard at this part of the movie. And so that's why I really wanted to rope you in for new releases and late returns.
Right.
So we'll just start off with new releases, and we like to start off with anything print. So books, comics, anything that you're currently enjoying.
Print, yeah. So I don't often get to read too much nowadays, just like real printed matter. Just the nature, I'm like just on the computer all the time. My eyes are kind of like just strained. But I am actually reading now this book I got a little while ago, Paperbacks from Hell. It's a cool little history and index of all these cool like all the classic horror book covers of like the that range from like the 70s to the 80s. It's just like the history of
Is it just the covers or the whole book?
Mainly the covers, but just kind of it goes through
cool.
the decades and like what informed them and stuff like that. It's really cool. It's like I honestly like I'm just kind of now reading it, but like when I first got it, I would just look at the pictures.
Yeah. No, I have a couple of books like that. I have one that's ad nauseum. That's just the newspaper print ads from horror movies.
Yeah.
And that's like, I mean, you can just spend so much time just looking at those.
Exactly. It is same deal.
Yeah. I just started, well, actually now I'm 3/4 of the way through it, but it's Stories from the Trenches, Adventures in Making High-Octane Hollywood Movies with Canon veteran Sam Firstenberg. Look at this thing.
Whoa. Holy.
It's massive. It's like half the size of my body. And for people that don't know, Sam Firstenberg directed Ninja 3. He did Breakin' 2. Breakin' 1. American Ninja. I mean, the big canon tent poles that we think about in a video store. And so it's an awesome book about, there's interviews in there. I just finished reading Boogaloo Shrimp's interview in there. So that's always enjoyable. But yeah, I highly recommend people pick that up if you're interested in canon films. It's a treasure trove, if you will.
Definitely.
Yeah, I just finished a book on Full Moon, so that was a great follow-up to that. But I wasn't reading either, and what I started doing is my wife got like an exercise bike, and I just read on that thing for like an hour, and it makes me like, I'm multitasking, but I wouldn't want to do either thing on their own, so
Yeah.
it kind of like helps out. Any other print?
Nah, that's pretty much
Okay,
it.
great. Yeah, I'm the same. Moving into music, is there any kind of music that you're listening to lately?
Yeah, then it's kind of harder to like list like during work to like
Yeah.
actually dive into new people. Like you kind of have to be in
Hmm.
the right mindset to either listen to something new or a new album. The newest person I've started to learn about is called listen to is the Leonard Simpson duo. It's like
Oh, I don't know them.
it's like one of he was a collaborator with Jay Dilla. It's like Detroit hip hop
Oh,
mixed
cool.
with New Zealand. And I didn't even know. I had to kind of double check and like what genre is this? I don't know anymore. Like like so it's like it's definitely I knew it was definitely like Detroit hip hop, but
Yeah.
mixed with New Zealand psychedelic. So it's really it's
Whoa,
really good. I highly recommend them.
that sounds great.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it so it's not instrumental?
No, no.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. Speaking of not listening to new things, uh, I'm listening to Kruder and Dorfmeister's album 1995 that came out this past year. I believe the story is they found DAT tapes and of music they had made in '95 and basically just put it out now. So it
Oh
was kind of
wow.
lost tapes situation.
Yeah.
It sounds like 1995. I mean, it's like it's perfect for like if you're writing or you need something that's not going to be distracting, you want to pretend you're in a bougie bar or something, you could dim the lights in your
Oh
house
nice.
and put on Kruder and Dorfmeister. It's really great. It feels super cozy to me. I love that era of electronic music. And then the other one that Dave, which we
Hmm.
both know,
Hmm.
was talking to me. He was texting me the other day from New York about, I forget what it was, but I said, hey, you should check out No Geography, the last Chemical Brothers album, because similar to this Kruder and Dorfmeister, they just decided why not make an album with their first set of equipment. So they went back to the electronics they were using in the 90s and made this album, and it feels so cozy. It feels so like 1997. It's really great, and the title track "No Geography" is somehow like 3 minutes long, and it feels like an epic 15
Yeah,
minutes. It's
I think I've heard that. Like that I don't like the Spotify algorithm at all, but
yeah,
it pointed me to there. It's like, oh yeah, I haven't listened to Chemical Brother for so long. And I'm like, oh, this is literally like, yeah, them from like,
yeah. It's
back
a
then.
great album.
Yeah.
Um, but that's the last two that I've really been listening to, which brings us to television. Anything new in the TV quadrant?
Yeah. So, I'm, watching like a lot of people like WandaVision.
Right?
it's like I want to hate on Disney and Marvel a lot. I mean, they can't, I mean, they're always competent, they're always good. But when I was like WandaVision, like, okay, yeah, you win again. Like, I guess this is like,
Yep.
yeah, you are like for, as big a budget, as, mainstream as you are taking a lot of
That's the
risks.
thing is, I just said on JL's episode, but like, I'm not a Star Wars guy.
Mhm.
I'm not. I could take it or leave it. I have nothing
Yeah,
against it, but
yeah.
I'm not like when someone says, "Ooh, Star Wars," I'm not like I'm gonna be first in line. Like it's just whatever. But The Mandalorian was awesome.
Yeah,
Like it
yeah.
was so competently competent, like you said, so well done, and it felt great. All the fan servicey type moments were so well placed
Hmm.
that like
Hmm.
you couldn't help but cheer for it. And then it just makes me think like, man, if this was my thing, like if Star Wars was my thing and I got this show,
Yeah,
like I would be so excited.
exactly.
So I
I think the
agree.
key is also just it's short. It's like no,
Yeah.
it
Yes.
makes you wanting more, and it's like it's just
Yeah.
short. It's just enough, and it knows what you want. It doesn't try to elevate anything. It's just
Yep.
like, yeah, no, this is kind of. Sometimes it feels like there's like a few episodes where it's like this feels like like a big budget Hercules or Xena or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in
Yeah.
a in a good way.
Yes, I agree. Uh, the only show we've been watching lately just came out on Amazon and it's called Tell Me Your Secrets.
Okay.
So it's like a kind of a procedural type situation where a lady's daughter is either dead or missing, and so she gets a convicted rapist to stalk this woman so she can find her daughter,
Mhm.
and that creates some difficulties because obviously she has unleashed a beast. So it's really well done, and it's one of those new shows that's dealing with dark subject matter in a way that's kind of pretty realistic.
Nice.
So it's sort of unsettling, but it's really inspiring to see people take on these topics.
Okay, yeah. What is it called again?
It's called Tell Me Your
Okay,
Secrets.
we're looking.
Just came out
We're looking
this last
for
week.
dark stuff to watch. So
Yeah.
So
This will work for sure.
I forgot to mention. I'm also something a little newer. Is it just came out on HBO. The Lady in the Dale is pretty good. It's like a four episode documentary.
Oh yeah.
About there's that joke 3-wheeled car that came out in the 70s that was like,
yes.
And
oh, this is about those people.
Yeah. The person, and it's just like it's like I didn't like. You learn about this person's whole. I don't want to spoil anything, but you learn about this whole life. It's like, this is like, how did I not know this about this?
Yes.
And like, how is this not like, like more well known? I recommend it as well. And it's like 4 episodes each, an hour each, so it's something you can just kind of like watch over 2 days.
That's great.
2 days.
Yeah, I love having those like kind of back pocket, just a couple episode shows, because there's nothing worse when it's like you're still gonna stay up for another hour,
Yes, yeah.
and the show you're watching ends, and you're like, oh, tonight I have to spend time trying to find something new. Like,
exactly.
Yeah. You're like, I settled in with my show, and now it's over.
Yeah. You don't want to commit to a movie, so it's like
right. Yeah, we did that last night, and then we kept looking at each other like, are we gonna turn this off, or are we gonna keep going?
Yeah.
It's like, it's almost 3. So, yeah. Well, I almost did it again. I almost skipped over games. Are there any video games that you're enjoying?
Oh yeah. I've since August have been playing Hades.
I don't know what that
for
is.
Switch. It's like the genre is like called roguelite. It's I don't know. It's really hard to describe, but it's basically. Have you ever played like a Binding of Isaac or Enter the Gungeon? If you've ever heard of those games.
No, I've heard of them, but I have not played them.
It's a lot like that, except it's very heavily focused on story. So I don't like roguelites necessarily. I admire them and I admire like the skill it takes, but it's just not necessarily my thing. They contextualize it really well because they put a story into why you keep dying, and it's all about the Greek myths and stuff like that. They play into the idea of like you just dying and coming back over and over again. It's just like very, very infectious gameplay.
So it's based on that Tom Cruise movie?
What?
The one where he dies on the beach like over and over.
Oh yeah, pretty much. Yeah, actually, yeah. Because you do. I totally forgot. Yeah, the movie that had like 2 different titles was called like Edge of Tomorrow, yes. And it's like on DVD, it's like Live, Repeat, Die, and like as if it never happened, like as if that first title never ever happened.
Yeah, it's so weird. They're making a sequel to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a cool concept. It's just like weird that Tom Cruise is like your character should be like late 20s at the oldest. Like why are you?
Yeah. I did enjoy watching him die.
Yeah.
There was something very fun about that. Well, my friend JL and I, we play a lot of shooters. So we're still like going back through like the Far Cry New Dawn and stuff like that. Nice. I currently have the demo for Outriders, downloading that to play.
Yeah, is that the
I don't know anything about it. JL said download.
Is it another is it a shooter or is it a
I think so. I think I'm not quite sure. Did you play Remnant from the Ashes?
No, it's one of I heard a lot of good things about that.
Because I loved that game.
Yeah, it's a lot like.
Didn't you like Dark Souls?
Yes, yeah. So that
Dark
exactly. It's guns. Dark Souls with machine guns, basically.
Yeah.
I think when it came out, I just couldn't pick up another game, and now it's kind of like past the. I mean, whatever. I can still play it. Just to stop it.
It's cheap. It's so fun because it's randomly generated maps.
Exactly.
And, you get a different enemy every time, and it's the skill for it. I've never played something where it was that difficult.
Yeah.
But then experienced how rewarding it was to push through it.
That's exactly what Hades. I mean, that's the same thing as Hades. It's like that's the whole thing about roguelites is like it's random. It's like every time you play, it's like a slightly different map or a slightly different enemy configuration in your power-ups. It's a kind of a dice roll of like if you get this power up, like you get a different combination where it's like, oh, this run is way more fun than the last.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out then. And then last, movies. Any movies you've seen lately that you particularly enjoyed?
Yeah, I saw Promising Young Woman. Love that a lot.
What'd you think? That's polarizing.
I liked it a lot. I knew going in people were gonna. I remember seeing the trailer for it like before the pandemic and thinking like, this looks, I don't know what to make of this, because it's like the subject matter looks cool, but it's done in a very kind of like modern day production values, kind of like, I don't know, just like, typical kind of like almost like rom-com style.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, you got to see it, don't spoil it, you got to see it. It's like, okay, so going in, I knew, okay, if this person's like that, I will probably like it. So it was kind of went in kind of led into, like that way. But I liked it. Yeah. That's all I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check that out.
Yeah.
You have any others?
Yeah, I saw The Dark and the Wicked.
What'd you think
of that?
It was
okay.
That's what I heard.
It was masterfully done. It was just like no bad, like bare bone script.
Sure.
Not great payoff, but it was still just like, it's like
well executed.
Yeah, exactly. Like coal miner or black coat's daughter is like definitely.
Yeah, I love
that. It's the same guy, and it was just like.
Oh, okay. Then I'm totally gonna.
Yeah.
Watch it.
Yeah. No. You'll appreciate it, but it has that same creepy, like very minimal creepy everything. But it's just like black coat's daughter has that hook. It's like there's somewhat of a plot. This is just like, oh, okay, yeah. I mean, point A to B. Okay,
Yeah, perfect. I saw Monster Hunter, the new Mila Jovovich film. I gotta say, if we were 13 and that movie came out, we would be so stoked on it. It's a big video game movie. It's not overthinking anything.
Yeah.
There's a lot of repetition in it, which I think is its only weak point. Like there's, before Tony Jaa and Mila Jovovich like work it out, there's like 2 separate altercations where I was like, one would have worked. Like we could have moved right past it.
Yeah.
And I never played the game, so I know that it's not true to the game at all. But also, no one told me Ron Perlman was going to pop up in it as like a sand pirate.
Wow.
And that's all I needed.
Once that happened. Sand pirate Ron Perlman. It's like
And it also ends like there's going to be so many more of these. So I hope there are, but I doubt there's going to be. And then Space Sweepers. Did you see Space Sweepers?
No.
I think it's South Korea's first big science fiction movie. It's on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
It's great. It's like, it's not super heavy. There's not gore in it. There's a lot of great special effects and robots. So if you're like science fiction, it's multilingual, which is awesome. There's like all kinds. It's like they give you just enough English so that like white people would be like, all right, I'll watch it. I don't have to read the whole time. But I really thought it was super fun, and I hope to see more science fiction.
I thought it was going to be the follow up to Space Truckers. It'd be like this blue collar space saga, Yes.
South Korea makes the sequel to Space Truckers, so it'd be awesome. I would love that. And then my last one is The Swordsman. This is another, I think it's South Korean. It just came out this last week. It's about a swordsman who is partially blind and he's losing his eyesight, and some guys steal his daughter. And this is set in the era of, shoguns and everything. So it's great. I forget that I get so nervous watching sword movies. It's just something about me where I would hate to be stabbed. And so I get real sweaty when they're like sword fighting. It really stresses me out, but I love it. But Swordsman was great. It's, another in the long line of like blind swordsman movies like Zatoichi, etc.
Is it Zatoichi or is it just the same trope?
It's just the same trope. Yeah. He's losing his eyesight.
Okay, right.
He makes choices in the film where it's either basically going to be eyesight or save someone's life kind of stuff. But it's really well done. It's also not super bloody. I would have loved if it was like Shogun Assassin, but it's not. It's very tasteful, very big budget. It looks wonderful.
Nice.
But that's my last movie.
Cool.
You have anything else?
Nothing of.
Oh, right.
I mean, we can. We can probably get started.
Then that means, we're moving into. Oh, I did have one note. I was recently a guest on Screen Radar's live stream podcast. I believe it's called Film Dorks, and the subject was supernatural movies, which I naturally, when offered the choice, talked about one of my favorite films, Rigor Mortis, from 2013, which is by Juno Mack, and it's a jumping Chinese vampire movie. I don't know if you're familiar with those from the Shaw Brother era, but
I haven't seen like I mean, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I haven't seen them all the way through, but yeah, we've all seen them.
Like
Mr.
Vampire.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like whoosh, you know.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen Rigor Mortis, basically Juno Mack, when he was 8, saw Mr. Vampire and loved these shows. So he went and got all of the original actors he could that are still alive and put them in the movie. Some of them had been retired for 20 years, and to bring them all back and create this really awesome film it's really fantastic. So nice. I highly recommend it. Even if you don't know the folklore of the hopping vampires, it's almost more fun. Like for me as a Westerner to watch it and not know any of that history initially, it was like watching a David Lynch movie because you don't know the logic behind anything. Yeah. It's just like, oh, okay. Like they're tying people up with strings and writing spells on their faces while they kung fu fight. It's just
it's like you're following your own set of rules, which makes sense, but I still don't get it,
Yeah, I totally didn't get it. And then knowing the history, then I loved it because the attention to detail is impeccable. But it's time. It's time for us to do Late Returns. And today's film I had to start with, and I was like, gosh, I hope Ted's still my friend after this. But I chose Get Even, aka Get Even, from 1993. There's no space between the two words.
I was like,
is the first. It's the first thing I love so much about it. It's also known as the film Road to Revenge and Champagne and Bullets. So in 1993, it was called Champagne and Bullets, and it was 10 minutes longer than this movie. And it had the full Shakespeare monologue in it and the entire song for the bathtub scene, which is pretty amazing.
Wow. Okay. Like it's that bathtub scene was even longer.
Yes, even longer. Road to Revenge is somewhere in the middle and has some bonus shots from 2007, some exteriors that he felt was really necessary for the film.
Like his own Schneider cut.
Yes, exactly.
They gave him a bigger budget.
Now, normally when we talk about a movie, it's just going to be, we'll just spitball about it and not go through every single waking moment. But this is a special occasion, and I made some notes chronologically because I would be ashamed if we missed some of the amazing points here. Yeah. And first, I just want to let people know that if you haven't heard of any of the 3 films that I just said, which are one film, it was all made by a lawyer named John DeHart. He's the writer, star, songwriter, co-director, and it's his vanity project. So people that like Tommy's The Room, this is often the second recommended film. People are like, you've got to see this because it's made by someone who thinks of themselves as so wonderful. And one of the things that I love about this movie so much is that, I grew up on Steven Seagal movies, and it was very apparent in every single one of his films, even though they were bigger budget, that he loves himself so much and sees himself as like an unstoppable force. So it's very hard to see this movie. I had to track it down. John DeHart, Wings Hauser, William Smith, who most people know from Maniac Cop, Laredo, Red Dawn. He was Conan's dad in Conan the Barbarian. He's in Any Which Way You Can. It's an amazing, amazing cast. And I think this movie really proves like Wings Hauser is awesome, even in movies that aren't awesome.
Yeah.
Because what I will say, this movie is totally just off the wall bonkers. But Wings Hauser almost is more sensible in it than anybody else. The opening credits going through LA, we just get random shots of nice cars, which I thought was
B-roll at the mall.
It's like just a random shot of a parked car where you're like, okay, got
it. You can tell like they probably were doing their regular B-roll out of the car, like stop, okay, like like no continuity. It's like, okay, it's a speed. Like,
is that a Porsche?
I know.
Get it in there. And then we get an incredible stakeout. And I literally, the second they show this shot, I heard your laugh in my head because I was like, they're just standing behind like 6 reeds.
With their like leather jackets.
Oh my gosh, the leather jackets. And Bodhi and Finney are our 2 main characters. And the captain are standing behind a few dry twigs about 12 feet from where their stakeout is. And it's hard not to talk about every brilliant line, but I'm going to skip over it. But Bodhi gets gets shot, and what happens is Bodhi gets fed up with Finney, who's been shot on the ground, and he knees the captain. It's like, it's so weird instantly.
Like what you're describing is like kind of how the editing is.
Yes.
It's like what? Wait, there's no established like, and then all of a sudden you see like the drug dealers for a second, but and then it cuts like you're still processing it, and then things just happen.
And there's like quite the shootout, and Wings Hauser gets shot instantly, which happens twice in the film. The captain gets kneed by Bodhi, and then the captain's like, "You just made the biggest mistake of your life," or something like that. And then it cuts right to the best training montage known to me.
Yes.
This, like, his working of the bag in this and everything, it's otherworldly.
His kicks no higher than his waist.
Oh my gosh. It's so incredible. And then they end it with him feeding a dog butter on a spoon, and the dog is wearing a black belt.
And then like the audio is still picking up like people giggling in the background.
Yeah, it's so weird. Oh my gosh, why would they leave that in there? And then it says a year later, and the captain's in court and says that Bodhi and Finney were dirty cops. And then it cuts to their chauffeurs, I wrote.
Yeah.
I wasn't quite sure what was happening.
It's really weird that John DeBoer or DeHart, what's his name?
DeHart.
He's a lawyer, and it's like, couldn't you make the courtroom a little more accurate in like the procedure? Like these folding tables and just like in a like just this weird like open, like
it's like an office.
Yeah, exactly.
It's probably his office.
The conference room.
Yeah. People coming in to get coffee and having a courtroom scene in there. Oh my gosh. But after that brief moment of them being chauffeurs, it's cowboy night. Now, by this point of the film, I'm amazed that you both were still watching it, because I thought only you were gonna watch this.
Still, because like I was also taking notes to it, so it was kind of like I think that kind of I still wasn't really following it, but it kind of grounded me a little more to like try, like, okay, one thing at a time, I guess, because it's like I have a problem. Like, well, first of all, it's just weird how it just cuts to like kneeing his boss karate, and then 1 year later it's like, well, when was a karate? Like, what? Like, was that a year later? Like, I don't.
Why did it take a year to have that courtroom scene? Like, what is happening? And then the chauffeur shot where he leaves kids stranded. It has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah. And why are you a chauffeur? Like, why are you like? Why is this like an 80s like titty movie? Like, oh, can you swear? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, why is this like all of a sudden like ski school or something like that?
Yeah, like he gets hit with like underwear or something, and he has like a one-liner where he throws them back into the back seat, and it's like, okay. But they go to a cowboy bar and meet some ladies, and Rick Bodie gets called up to sing because what is happening? And he does the Shimmy Slide song in its entirety.
Yes.
This is the only song that he performs as part of the soundtrack that he paid money for. This one he didn't write. So there's another layer to something. And the best part about the Shimmy Slide song, other than that we get all of it, is that it's followed by a stripper who's dancing to a reprise of the Shimmy song.
I was like after like the whole Shimmy song, he's like, his eyes are bulging so big and he's so stiff and like
with no emotion.
I know he's like trying so hard to like keep up and read the lyrics, I assume, like on the prompter or cue card, and then it's like, whoa, that's over. Then all of a sudden, like, whoa, getting naked, like what's the
Yep. And then there's one girl that's disgusted by the fact that there's stripping happening, and she goes and makes a phone call to the police to say that there's breasts being
she says,
shown.
I wrote down, I'd like to I need to report public nudity.
Awful. I watched this, I have to be honest, the last time at 1.5 speed, and the Shimmy Slide song is really good at 1.5. I highly recommend it. Actually, it really tightens up most of the editing if you watch it at that speed.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I recommend it. An intense fight breaks out, and Finney gets arrested. But he gets out, and Bodhi takes his lady to a restaurant, and Bodhi tells not one but two jokes to the waiter, who's I guess the restaurant owner. By this point, I should mention we've seen about 6 pairs of champagne flutes in the movie. It's like there's so much excessive glassware in this movie.
Man, a sophisticated taste.
Yeah, and then there's a singing photographer in this scene, which I was like, what
Yeah,
What?
I was.
And then she invites them to a different bar, which is so bizarre.
I feel
too,
that
but they
person
don't.
has to be real. Like there probably
Right.
really is a scene photographer in LA, you know, like
with a Polaroid camera.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yes. And then the next scene is they're at a picnic. They didn't go to this other bar that was even mentioned, and there's Italian music playing.
Oh boy.
And his lady says, she's recalling something. She said, everyone was doing drugs. I did some too, which is how you reflect on drug taking, I suppose. I did some. Oh man, that scene, more glassware. And then they introduced the satanic cult. Now by this point I was like, what doesn't this movie have?
I know. Yep.
And then they cut back to so they cut back to that she he's going to help her forget the cult, and so he delivers part of his Shakespearean monologue that the original film had in its entirety. Wow. It's from Hamlet, I believe.
Yeah.
But it is wow. It cuts to more champagne flutes, and now they're by a fire, the two of them again, and Starting Over song plays, which is all about starting over, and he's singing it. I don't know who the female voice is in the song, if it's the playmate that's also in the movie or what, but we also get the hot sex scene with the nipple icing.
Yep. Me and my wife were watching, like, and she was like, oh wow, okay, this movie.
It's so, like, the whole time I was like, well, this is where there should be a cut. They should edit some of this. Like, he just full on drags it around her nipple like 8 loops. Just like, I'm like, that's so thorough.
He's like a child, just like a race car, like driving.
It's exactly like in Shogun Assassin when they're all naked after swimming through the water, and he wraps the robe around all 3 of them, and the baby is like flicking the nipple of the lady. It's like, he's like that baby. Back at the bar, Finney freaks out about Hamlet and tries to get him to do the speech again, where at this point I was like, I love everything that's happened in this movie, but if he starts saying
my buddy can speak again, Hamlet, is what he said.
Yeah.
And he's wearing that polo rugby shirt.
Yes.
This is polo.
Oh my gosh, it's so crazy. The next scene's Winghauser shooting his bills. Like, he's full on holding them up and shooting them with a gun.
Yeah.
What?
Why not? You know, at this point.
Yeah, I guess so. And then he has a falling out with this lady, ends up in court. Old Captain is the judge. And then in jail, Wings drinks bleach to go to the hospital. And then we see Winghauser in a hospital smoking cigarettes after he just drank bleach, which is amazing. There's a nun in this scene because at this point, we're just throwing all logic out of the window. Rick and his lady go to get her clothes from the parents, and she's like, I don't do drugs or worship the devil, to her dad, who's very mad that she's there to pick up
Dad
the
is the same age as John DeHart.
Yes, they are the same age. Yeah. That is disturbing. Luckily, there was no ice involved in this scene. At this point, Bodhi walks us through every single plot point in the movie that we've already seen in a voiceover where I was like, no, we just watched all this in the movie. Why is this happening right now? It's amazing. And then we get the bath scene, which we talked about earlier, where he looks at the camera 2 times like he's so stoked to be in a bath with this lady. It's so gross. And then we get the song I'll Be With You, which he wrote and performs. Yeah,
he's like channeling his best Elvis that he can.
Yeah, there's like a nautical net on the wall behind them in the bathtub that I was just like, what is this theme that they have going on? More champagne flutes, true. Then it cuts to Wings in a pool with a sign that reads Huck's Haven.
Yeah.
And he's created a Huckleberry Finn religion.
Yes. And also, I think we need to mention the cigar store Indian that is is in that scene, but also just with him throughout the whole movie. I think that's his. Is that his like coping mechanism or something?
Yeah. He's like, this got me through some real lonely times.
Yeah. I saw a Creep Show too, and then I'll ever
Yes. It's so the whole time I was like, I don't know, I'm offended by this, but I'm not sure why. I can't put my finger on it, but I'm not okay with it. So the Huckleberry Finn religion, okay. So
he's wearing like high waters and everything, and
yeah, it is the weirdest. Like in a movie that's so weird, like when they finally like, oh, he found like the Huck Finn religion. I'm like, wait, what? Is this does this exist in LA? This is something that like Anton LaVey started before the Church of Satan. He's like just trying it out. He's like, maybe Huck Finn. No, this isn't working. Bodhi's getting married on Sunday. He gets invited and then cuts right to the wedding. Huck's the best man in a pumpkin orange suit. Yep. Oh man. We get something for Bodhi and more champagne flutes. Oh, is it a striptease? Do we have a striptease?
Yeah. There's a striptease in my notes.
Okay, so my auto
and they play the shimmy slide again during the striptease.
Oh, that's right. Yes, the striptease is to a song called "Don't Stop Loving Me" that then ebbs into the reprise of the shimmy slide. That's right. Oh God! And then, Miss Bodhi sees that Normand and says that he's the leader of the coven. And then a thug tails them in the best chase scene I've ever seen, which unfortunately Rick loses control, and there's no more Miss Bodhi.
Yeah, all of a sudden it's just like they're on the ground. It's like,
yep. They couldn't afford the wreck part, so they just like, you'll get it. You'll just piece it together. Cut straight to the funeral, where he says, "I'll get even for you, Cindy. I promise I'll get even." So there's our get even. It's like the movie's almost over.
Do you think he said that knowing that like that's a good movie title? Maybe that'll be the
I think it was a reshoot, I bet.
Yeah.
I think they watched it and they were just like, well, I mean, why are we doing any of this? I think that's what happened.
An existential crisis.
Yeah, I've got to say something. Maybe I'm getting even. Oh, there it is. Cool, but don't put a space between the words. That's crazy. Finney is now completely dressing like Huck Finn in the movie, where I was like, this subplot is a real head scratcher. Rick takes a compound bow to the compound, which is very creative, and we get his like Rambo style killings. He hasn't used a bow the entire film, and suddenly it's like, oh wait, I guess they were shooting targets when they were chauffeurs.
Then he had the shotgun with the target.
Right. Okay. Well, so Rick just starts killing everybody, and he breaks someone's neck in the most like relaxing way. Like I think I've popped my neck with more enthusiasm than it's pretty crazy. The best shootout happens in a hallway, and then Finney shows up and is instantly wounded. Poor Wings Hauser. Bodhi shows up and faces off with the judge. Bodhi kills the judge, but not before he says, "I'll see you in hell, son of a beach." Like he says this.
It's like he burped when he said it or something.
Yes, and they just kept it in. Oh man. Then the nun is back and needs a ride because Cindy's alive. She's alive in the hotel room. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that.
It was really weird, but like because like the nun tried to like, you need to come to the hospital with me, like, and just like she just kept trying to like, she couldn't tell him that she was
like
alive.
she could just say she's alive. I don't know why is it a weird head game she's playing?
Please take me to the hospital. Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm grieving here. It's like, no, come take me to the hospital.
Come drive me around. I'm a nun, you don't know. And then of course, what song plays over the credits? It's the shimmy and the slide.
Yeah, they paid money for it, so they gotta stretch that dollar.
It's like this earworm is gonna get this crawl to the top of the charts. It's pretty amazing. But that is the movie Get Even. Any final thoughts, Ted?
Yeah, I thought that like it was like a lot of vanity projects is just like lots of like
shot on video.
Yeah. There's a lot of aspirations, a lot of collections of things they like. I assume maybe Wings Hauser read Huckleberry Finn for the first time, like, there's something, and like, hey, I'm reading this, like, let's put it in the movie. And it's like, but I think it really checks off all like the middle-aged white guy boxes of the like, cops, vigilantes. We're gonna take the law in our own hands, clean up the streets, and kung fu.
Yeah,
bitchy ex-wives and their young girlfriends.
Yes,
and they're the funniest. It's the only place where people can like their bad dad jokes, So
yes, yeah.
It's like like my favorite is like, is a glass full or is half empty? Oh, I don't know. It looks like there's like, is a glass full or half empty? It's like, I don't know. It's half full. It's water.
Yeah, it's really good one.
Yeah, and it was like really it was good. Awkwardly like there was no weird. It went exactly how I said it, and then just cuts to the next scene.
Yeah. Well, the two jokes he tells in the restaurant, I was like, when he's telling the first one, I was okay, and then he's like, "I've got another one for you." I was like, "Don't have another one." But like, those are the choices that make it like it shouldn't be watchable. And instead, like, I find myself just grinning ear to ear because this person is not accidental. Nobody filmed this and never showed it to them. Like, they were involved, they co-directed it. They were involved in every step of it. And the fact that you would be making this intentionally and being like, nailed it. Okay, next scene. Nailed it. Yep. This is all perfect. Like, I love that idea.
Son of a beach. Oh, yeah. Awesome. Got it.
Yes. That's what we needed.
Nailed it the first try.
Yeah. And so, you know, somebody had to be like, well, get even is spelled with a space in the middle. You know, it's not, otherwise it's get even. It's not a thing. But, you know, and to choose that over bullets and champagne, or champagne and bullets, you know, it's like champagne and bullets is a great title.
Yeah, and it makes sense. It's a theme in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. But getting even at the last 15 minutes or whatever, it's like, oh, okay. Well, you know, I would love to know basically a documentary length film about this. I want to know about how Wings Hauser was involved. I want to know that how long they had him for. Was it just like a day? Like what?
Yeah.
You know, it's wild.
Yeah, I can only assume the writer director John DeHart is like he has to be some sort of lawyer in Hollywood and probably as a favor, you know. It's like
I think he's semi-retired now.
Yeah, he's still alive.
I think he's still alive. Wow. Yeah, in fact, this movie has had theatrical playing, like you know, one night in LA or whatever, and John DeHart's been to some of them.
Wow.
And you know, it's a crowd pleaser. People like, you know, really react to the movie, so he was overwhelmed with it. He just thought it was great. So it's kind of cool when something like this that's shot on video, not wildly celebrated, but it still like has somehow found a foothold with people, and it brings people joy.
Yes.
In its karate dog licking butter off the spoon kind of way.
It's like he kept it interesting, you know. It's like
it kept moving, and I did not know where it was
going.
Yeah,
me neither.
I can honestly say, and it delivered. I'd heard about this film, and I was like, okay, well, I'll check it out, and I chased it down and put it in. And the second I started it, I was like, well, I'm finishing this. I just can't. I got to know what happens and where this goes, which, you know, it makes its own compelling argument for its own weird existence, I guess. I suppose. But anyway, that's my final thoughts on Get Even. Nice. Anything else?
Just like, that song stuck in my head. Shimmy Slide.
Yes. That's all it takes is you say shimmy slide and it just starts playing in my head.
And his face while singing it too.
His monotone face with his like hands on his hips, just like, yep, killing it.
Yeah.
Like this. It's like, oh man, I wish I had that kind of confidence.
We're going to do that again with the stripping now.
Yes. What song should they dance to? Well, we paid for the shimmy slide, so just reprise that. And again, I already said it, but 1.5 speed on your DVD, I'm telling you, it's the movie really picks up and moves at that point. Yeah. Wings Hauser sounds a little fast, but everyone else sounds just about right. Well, Ted, thank you so much for joining me for New Releases, Late Returns. I think I sent you a stack of other films, which we'll be covering in the future. So I'm very excited because we started here and it's only uphill from this. So people should be warned. But tune in next time for another episode of New Releases and Late Returns.